latest book, Cotton Plantation Remembered, the Egyptian family story, which is, I think, quite a unique book because it is a blend of a number of elements that don't often come together in the kind of books that we have the opportunity to publish. It's, on the one hand, a very personal story. It's also a work of careful sociological study, and it's a collection of great photography, as well as archival pictures of from old family documents, ledgers and albums and so on. So I think only Mona could have done this book because she has this unique combination of her family background and history, her training in sociology, and the skills that she's developed as a, as a photographer. So the personal side is partly family history. She's looking back at the history of family, which goes back, recorded back to the 18th century and into the 19th, and then how the family built up this particular cotton plantation in the Egyptian Delta. It's deeply personal, very sensitive. If you read the sections, for example, that she writes about her mother and, for instance, her mother's relationship with her own parents, these are deeply moving passages. The passage about Sheikh Zakaria, the gentleman who's been with the family and on the land for many decades. On the sociology in the book is a story of agrarian transformation. It's change in rural setting, how the cotton plantation begins, how it started 100 or so years ago, how people gained the land, how other people were indentured to work on the land. It's a story of the haves and the have-nots of that time. Very, very wide division between a highly privileged landowning class and an indentured peasanthood with very few rights and very few possessions. And it's the story of how that situation changed over the past 100 years or so, mostly through the Egyptian Revolution of 1952, when land reforms were introduced, land was redistributed, large land holdings were cut down, and the people who actually worked the land were often given chunks to own and work for themselves. So Mona follows through the story of how it was in those days, how life was structured for the two very differing separated classes, and how it's moved on across the decades to be quite a different picture now, where smallholding farmers have their own plots of land and they're independent. They may not be wealthy, but they have something, and they are not in a quasi-corvée relationship to the landowning families. The photography, I think, I personally, I'm a photographer, so I'm very impressed by Mona's photography. It's highly sensitive and it covers a very broad range. It goes from the atmospheric, the pictures of fields in the early morning or in the black cloud fog of the autumn, labour in the fields, to the documentary pictures of portraits of people and the architecture and the buildings as they stand now and so on. And you'll be able to see an exhibition of not just some of the photographs from the book, but some which are not in the book, in the Legacy Gallery down the hall after we've finished this small gathering. The archival documents include old family photographs, some of which are quite stunning, and many documents from the time which are ledgers and how they kept the books and so on, which are both visually and historically very interesting. A book like this comes about through the work of many people, primarily the author, of course, who's worked on this for quite a number of years. But it's worth noting that Mona developed the ideas for this book with our old and dear and departed friend Mark Linz for quite a long time. They bounced ideas off each other and developed, how this book would be shaped in the end. Some of us had some part in that discussion, but mainly it was Mark and Mona who brought this together and made sure that the AUC Press would publish it. In editing, there are several editors involved. Kate Hawkins, our also much missed friend Leslie Tweddle was one of the copy editors on this book, and Ned and Keith worked very hard on this as well in bringing it all together. Design, it was designed quite beautifully, I think, by Amr al-Kafrawi, and working with Mona. They spent many, I think, afternoons, days, mornings, nights, maybe working together on how to put a particular spread together, balance of text and pictures. And in production, our production manager then saw through this quite complex production job with a printer in China. And the book has come to us now across the sea, all the way from China, for us to enjoy and celebrate. And congratulations, Mona, and thank you very much. And please come and tell us more.